dear.
Good evening. Today is January 3rd, 2019, and welcome to the Reuben Hoare Library Board of Trustee meeting. A Happy New Year, everybody. We're going to move to public participation, and we have none. So on to correspondence. No correspondence.
Before we leave correspondence, did we get the letter from?
No. I have to
Follow up.
get on her about that.
Okay.
Okay, approval of minutes for December 6th, 2018.
I think under correspondence, you could put windows are difficult, because it's not one window.
Okay.
Oh, I see, okay.
On second page, page 2, second item down, Rachel Gallant showed her wares.
Oh, yeah,
That's all I found.
that was a good find.
Got lucky.
So we changed it to the wares. Her wares kind of sounds
Yeah.
risque.
All right, the wares. The wares, okay, yeah, the wares.
Mark.
No, thank you, that's right, actually.
She was the artist.
Yes,
right?
yes,
He
she was.
the craftsman.
Yes.
Top of page 3, in the first line item, Ms. Taylor reported on the custom crafts being produced for the fundraising efforts.
They were fun, though.
Yes, they were.
Yes.
That's the trouble with that spell check, it's spelling it right.
Yes, it's a good word, but yeah, that's
Yeah.
right. Yeah.
Tonight needs to be tonight, that too.
Number 2.
Motion to accept as amended.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? The minutes for December 6th, 2018 have been approved. We're moving on to treasurer's report.
Treasurer's report, okay, we have one today. Okay, and the building fund is $445,008.04,
445.
445, comma, 008, period, 04. $445,008.04. And the MMDT is $868.18. And we do not have a new Bartholomew, it's too early in the months. This one in front of us is last month's, but it's the most recent one we have.
Expect the December one to be worse.
And that's the end of the treasurer's report.
Okay, any further comments on the treasurer's report? No? Okay, we will move on to Friends report.
There is nothing to report. There was no meeting in December.
Okay,
The new slate of officers will be in place.
And I think we,
Yeah.
at our last meeting, we went through who those people were. Yeah.
Yep.
okay, fundraising and public awareness committee report. Sam and Dave and I attended. Dave or Sam, would you like to share some of the items that we discussed?
We talked about the pledge drive. So far, 6 rooms have been purchased for the new library. At Read Past My Bedtime, 75 kids attended, and there are 60 stuffed animals. The American Gold and the drone raffle were going on, and I believe they've picked a winner since then, but I just don't know who. Let's see. Katrina is still working on edits for the infographics for advertisements. They talked about pushing for donations at the end of the tax year. And that was pretty much it.
And since the meeting, you and Amy filmed an LCTV informational video.
Right, and we're gonna refilm it.
Can we see the director's cut before? Oh, okay.
I have a copy.
Do you have a copy?
I do.
Oh, awesome. What's it worth to you, Sam?
We also talked about getting a food truck for the
Mini golf.
mini golf.
Yeah. Amy's pricing out various food trucks in the area, but nothing's been decided yet. I suspect that when we meet this month, we'll talk further on that.
That's Monday, right? Monday night, I think, the 7th?
Yes.
So next meeting.
Anything else to add to the fundraising and public awareness committee report?
I can add that there's $152,000 in outstanding pledges, I think, at this moment.
So some came in
Yes,
the last month, for sure.
yes,
It's good.
152,000?
yes, roughly.
Can you say it one more time? How much money?
Roughly 152,000 in pledges, of which, meaning $152,000 of pledged money that we do not have not received any of, right? That's not counting if people made any donations so far. There's 152,000 outstanding.
If they make a donation, it goes right into the building fund?
Yes, I believe so, though it might go to depending, it might go to the Friends and then to the building fund.
Right, okay, but eventually it ends up in
It
the
ends up
building.
in the building
Okay,
fund.
that's, all right, okay.
Okay. Trustee updates. Mark, do you have anything?
No, I'll save mine for the project timeline stuff.
Okay.
I don't have anything today.
Susan?
No, I do not.
I do not have anything.
It was Christmas.
Good holiday.
How was your holiday season?
That's okay.
Yeah.
Yours was better than mine, though, I think.
It's different. Yeah, no, I think we all just took a few weeks of rest. We read like a bunch of books, but.
Start giving book reports instead.
Oh, that's a great idea.
We should
That
do
once
that
a
for
month,
next
one of us
time.
should give a book report.
Yeah.
Good idea, Ellen.
Right.
I don't have anything either.
That's good.
Okay.
That was good.
Director's report.
Okay, we were looking for a new library assistant. The posting ended last Friday. We received over 30 applications for the 6-hour position. Helen, Andy, and I narrowed it down to 6, and we're interviewing all 6 on Monday.
Oh.
So hopefully we'll have somebody by next week.
Are they all internal candidates or all external?
Well, one
Okay.
person works for the town, did work for the town.
Okay. All right, cool.
Yeah.
All right.
On December 12th and 13th, the entire staff attended a mandatory respectful workplace workshop along with members of other town departments.
How is
2 days to get that done?
Well,
Like, don't be a jerk.
They split us up, so
Was it full, like the full day, or just like
a few hours.
It was like 9 to 12 or 1 to 4.
Yeah, something like that.
what happened?
Basically, it's about sexual harassment, being nice to each other, not being a jerk.
Being nice to one another is a good thing.
Right? Don't be a jerk.
I gave Margaret Genesis a 3-month disability leave per her request. She had some health problems that she would like some time to take off and get better. So she'll probably return in late February, early March. I've purchased online versions of the Boston Globe, the Washington Post, and the Wall Street Journal. They're working on them right now, and we'll probably go live within a week. I'm also purchasing a new movie streaming service called Canopy. It's sort of like Netflix, but it has more independent films, educational films. That'll also be going live soon. The new laptops are now available for patron use. Helen barcoded them, so we're gonna start advertising that. I already put it in this week's browse. So, the budget hearing for FinCom is on Saturday at 10:40 at the police station, and the library was certified by the Mass Board of Library Commissioners, so we're good for another year.
That's a
And
good
we got a
thing.
check.
Yes, we did. Well, half the check.
Can I
It's-
ask a quick question? Who here can make it to Super Saturday on the 5th at 10:40 at the police station?
I'll be there.
I will be there too.
Okay, all right. Good, at least two of us. I will likely be there as well. So, we'll be a support force standing behind you.
Okay, so the rest is financial report. We're doing pretty well financially. We're working through the book budget. We'll be heading into the trustee funds pretty soon. And as far as salaries go, we're doing pretty well. Then the rest is statistics.
One thing that's not in here is the winter reading program started.
Oh yeah, winter reading did start.
Yeah,
Sorry.
and that ends February.
It's on the website, isn't it? I think
Oh, there
Oh,
it is.
12/26.
Oh, no, it is on there. I'm sorry, Sam. It is under
Started
staff and library updates. But there is no ending date listed, so it started on December 26th.
And what, yeah, I saw it on the website, but I can't remember what the date was.
February 23rd?
That's that right?
I had that on Browse today.
Was there anything wrong with,
Same.
Sam,
New
was there
York
something
Times.
wrong with
I
the
read that in
counters
New
or
York
anything?
Times. I
Because
read that
the
in Browse on
attendance
the-
number was like in half. Or am I reading the report wrong? Our cert numbers are up from last year, but our attendance numbers were down.
That seems a little odd too, yeah.
I'm not sure.
It's, that seems like a way too large of a drop, so we should check our counters.
Okay.
It's off by 50%.
Yeah.
You know, why did it copyright? The number of children participating, 79, and you have 75 in the sleepover,
Yeah.
so.
There are more than 4 kids who showed up for some other
In month of
event.
December?
Yeah.
Yeah. So something
Probably.
must be weird with it.
That probably didn't get counted as a library program, though. It might not, it might get counted differently, right?
Right.
No, that's a library program.
I know, yeah,
Yeah,
it probably
but
didn't
maybe it
get
just
reported
wasn't-
in the same.
Added in.
Since Diane's not running it Diane's not running it per se, it might not have she might not be counting it. It might have been counted by someone else. But, yeah.
It's easy enough to check.
Yep.
Yeah, I'll check. That's it for my report.
Any other comments?
We talked before about do we want another notary? Did we ask anyone if they wanted to be a notary?
I
on
am a
staff?
notary.
Yeah, but you're not sitting at the desk.
No.
Does Jenna show any interest?
I think Jen's kind of busy, but I can ask her. Yeah.
So
I didn't ask the staff. I will ask the
we
staff.
should ask the staff if someone wants to be.
Old business, Ray Grandy recipient update?
So the recipient did not show up this month, and she did contact us. She said she's very busy, but that was about it.
So she hasn't come to any hours?
She did in 2 days, a while ago. Yeah.
Do we give it to the next, I mean, like, I don't know, it feels, I really like her, but.
Well, did we make a thing that you had to come every week? Because I think she did talk to Sam or somebody and say that she's has a lot of availability once spring and summer comes.
Okay.
So, just because she's not here right now and she has said she's busy, I don't know if we need to react.
Is she too busy to do 4 hours a week, like on a Saturday? Or 2 hours or something, or?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. To me, and maybe we need to look at the job description for next year, but it feels like some continuity would be good, rather than like putting it all 40 hours in, you know, 3 weeks in a row or something in June. That's not really the spirit of what we're trying to do, but.
I can try talking to her and see what the deal is.
Well, yeah, I mean, if she says as of April 1st, I'm gonna have lots of free time, then you can calculate April, May, June. Do we go to the end of July?
Yeah, it's
So
July
that's
30th.
16 weeks if she did
Yeah.
11 hours a week.
Mhm.
Are we 175 or 150?
150.
So we've 9 hours a week. But maybe she needs those numbers put in front of her, where she thinks, oh, gosh, 9 hours a week starting April 1st until the end of July is a lot of time. Maybe I should try to parse it out.
Maybe could we get her a list exactly what it is she has to do and when she's gonna be available?
Sure.
And I suspect that it's been college apps.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm living with one of those too.
Well, would you like to invite her to next month's meeting and see where she is?
Sure.
And perhaps, you know, Sam, if you can be in touch with her and again. and-
If I can get her.
Well, I can find her
Yeah, tell her to
to contact you
to
again.
come in.
Or, okay.
Yeah.
I mean, if she's available to come for the meeting, great. And if she's not, then making some kind of an arrangement.
Okay.
Okay, all right, no problem.
Okay.
That's great. Okay, building maintenance issues, the leak, the windows and light. Have we had any updates to the issues that were discussed last month regarding?
So George has been replacing the tiles,
Okay.
the ceiling tiles. He did speak to a plumber about the heating issue in the conference room. He said the plumber said that he would have to dig down into the bottom floor and reroute some things, and it'd be really expensive. He didn't give us a quote, but he said it'd be really expensive.
Because it's on a big loop.
Right. So, I mean, he can do it, but it's gonna cost money. So, do we wanna go to PMBC? Do we wanna pay for it? Do we wanna?
I think we should just investigate it a little bit more.
Okay.
All right, maybe we could.
There's a radiator in there now, right?
Yeah.
So could we ask
My-
the plumber what it would take to just take the radiator out and just put a pipe?
Right, that's what I suggested.
I think that's what I asked George in the first
That's-
place.
Well, the radiator must be up there already, right?
Yeah.
So the radiator in there, it's about maybe a 3 or 4 footer. Right, so if you were to take the radiator out, the 2 elbows that come up, you could just clean them out and run a pipe right straight across.
Which will be
Eliminate the
blistering hot.
Because it's a loop, it's a one zone.
Right, but instead of
But you're
having all the
taking you're taking the
fins
radiator
for the heat to disperse out of, you just would have the tube with no fins.
And maybe you could wrap it or something?
Yeah,
Yeah, you could put
In liquid
the
nitrogen.
insulation,
Asbestos.
I mean, no,
Even better. You probably have
But
some of that.
you'd put the cover back on. So
Okay.
you wouldn't see the radiator, you wouldn't
Okay.
see the pipe, the cover would still be there, cover and everything.
Okay.
But we could also insulate it with some insulation that would keep that heat in
Okay.
from the pipe, and then the fins would be gone off the radiator, so.
So maybe if he could price that.
What it requires is shutting down the system to get the water flow to stop, so you can do that. But that's an easy job. You know,
Yeah.
I mean, it's not, you know, if he wants to, dig down.
The
to
trustees
floor and
should do
disconnect
it.
from under-
Little project.
You guys
There
do
you
it.
go.
DIY.
All right, I'll speak to George about that. And then as far as the lights go, George has also been trying to get an electrician in, but he said it takes, if he can get a hold of them,
Yeah.
and it's true. I've tried getting people, it's like, they don't want our money, I don't know. So,
Do we have a special relationship with particular plumbers?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so, he said he's working on trying to get an electrician in to fix the light in the teen room, but
Okay.
it's
In
not.
the windows.
Yeah, in the windows. It's not for lack of trying. It's just they don't
So.
respond.
All right, so I missed the part about the windows. Did we
Yeah.
get to that yet?
So as far as the windows go, George thinks they're too cheap and badly installed to fix them. So that's going to be more money too.
It'd be more expensive to fix than it would be to replace.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. It's a money pit, this library, huh? I wonder how we could solve all these problems. All
I think you
right.
could bring the windows to PMBC, that issue, to try to just have them, I mean, that's part of what they do.
Maybe
have the
they,
window
maybe they
space.
could do a field trip and come up and look at the window.
Yeah.
Somebody could put his hand there while
Right,
we let it
Right,
close.
well, I pulled the book out and it slams down.
So they can't put more money into this building without it getting really expensive, so.
Yeah.
I wonder if we could come up with some kind of a fix for that. There must be something broken inside that
Yeah.
window.
It must be like the weights, you know, the.
The counterweights.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, keep us updated.
Yeah, are there any more things to add to the list of broken stuff at the library?
So,
I don't think so.
Oh, well,
it wasn't broken, but we talked about whether we wanted to make the door a pass-through, right?
All right. The door on the second floor, there's a emergency exit that is next to the bathrooms that leads out into the town.
oh, yeah, yeah.
Technically, it's an emergency exit, but it's not really supposed to be because it leads out into another building. So Mark and I were talking about maybe just making it into a regular door, like the other doors downstairs.
But we wouldn't do
Which
that
one?
upstairs in the children's room.
Between the second,
No.
there's, on the second floor by the bathrooms.
Oh, I thought that was a closet or something. That's it.
There is a closet there, but there's another around that corner. There's by the women's bathroom. There's a,
Oh, okay. so-
Yeah,
I
that'd
didn't
be good.
realize that went out.
Yeah.
but it just goes out into the town hall.
It would
yeah.
feel like a secret doorway to enter the library.
And you don't have to sit and wait for the elevator.
Yeah, right.
And that would be locked up at closing time? And- Okay.
Makes sense.
So I can speak to George about that too.
Okay.
But removing the alarmed handle,
Right.
no. Cool.
That's it.
Okay. Trust fund transfer. This we could not do last month because we didn't have the BART. But now that we have these figures, we can move ahead with this issue.
So we need to, okay, so we need to move $15,000 for the trust funds in general. The next question, that's for materials, do we want to move extra to bump up the MMDT that's under $1,000? To like, move like 2,000 or something in there? Okay, so the MMDT money would have to come,
No, it's 15. It's 15. I know he said 13. That's because last year Bonnie made a mistake and put 13,
Okay,
but it's always been 15.
all right, because he said it again today. That's today's email.
I know because he's probably looking at the wrong thing.
Okay, well,
It's
15, that's fine.
Yeah. So the 15 should come out, so, it comes out of what we need is money out of the ending earnings number, right? Add up to 15, right? That's where you get your money from.
Yeah, and
Which one
from
of these?
what sections can we draw from
Yeah,
here,
what can we
Rob?
draw from?
Rob?
So,
Where can we find the money, Rob?
so any of the 100 or 200 numbered funds, we can take from for the materials budget. For to supplement the MMDT, it has to come from the 300 numbered funds.
Okay, so, I can barely see.
Mm.
So the Bradford Sampson Fund has $18,701.11.
So we
Fund
could,
107.
yep, so we could move the whole amount from that.
Yeah.
The fi-
All right, then I make a motion that we take $15,000 from the Bradford Sampson Fund to put toward the trustees' annual contribution to the books? Is that what it is? It's
Materials.
It's for materials.
Materials.
Okay, got it.
Where's it going to?
It's,
Henry, did you get that?
Yep.
Okay.
We're taking the
Yeah,
15,000
that.
from the ending
107.
earnings of Fund 107.
107,
It goes to the
Trustee materials. budget.
trustees' materials budget.
trustees' materials budget.
Which is part of what you're submitting on Saturday. We'll
Right.
include that
For next
number
year.
for next year, yeah,
Yeah.
Yep. And this money has to be transferred by
Steve?
beginning of fiscal year?
This month.
Oh, it should be done this month, okay.
Yeah, he said by the middle of the month they like to do it.
Yeah, good, okay.
I'll second the motion.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Those
All right.
opposed? Okay, so we will be,
I'll send him an email in the morning.
Hold on, can I make a motion that we transfer the $1,947.73 from Fund 317, the John D. Houghton Fund, into the trustees' MMDT account?
Second that
Wait a minute,
motion.
how much?
The whole shebang, 1,947.73,
Which is the fund?
the last one.
Last. Oh, yeah, okay.
Earnings.
Okay, and transfer that to MMDT,
Yes.
John Houghton Fund, 1947.73
Bye,
to
bye, bye.
MMDT. Okay. That's, is that already been approved just now?
no,
Actually,
a
motion that
first
we did.
motion.
All right.
We need a second.
Second.
Jenna?
No, you
Oh.
made the second motion.
I made the motion, Jenna seconded it.
Yeah.
We
Okay.
just didn't vote it.
All right.
And all those in favor?
Aye.
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 All
Right,
those
so-
opposed?
No. So to be clear, out of 107 in Bradford Sampson Fund to the trustees' materials budget, and out of 317 John Houghton Fund, $1,947.73 to MMDT.
Mhm.
Okay, I'll do it in the morning.
Okay, so we should, Dave, maybe you should talk to Steve, and we need to figure out, we've been taking, for the past, I don't know, 3, 4, 5 years, we've been doing this, all of the materials money out of the funds that are dedicated to materials. And I'm wondering if they're kicking off enough earnings, how long we're going, if it's self-sustaining at this 15,000 limit number or not, right? Or if we're going to be running,
Principal.
well, or we're gonna have to hit these general funds or something else, right? Are those funds going to be enough? Are they kicking off enough earnings for that to keep happening? Are we going to be, so Steve might have a,
So you're talking about all the funds, or the 100s or the 300s?
the 100s and the 200s funds, if we can figure out how much earnings they're kicking off per
Okay.
year,
All right,
right?
earnings.
From the 1 and 200s.
On 100 and 200 funds.
Okay, so just for clarification here, where it says on this form, very first column, beginning market value, that's beginning at of the month market value,
Correct.
correct?
That's my assumption.
Okay, so if you're looking at the one we just pulled from Bradford Sampson, that's $103,000 beginning market value,
Mhm.
which means in the month, it earned $1,100, right? It's this third to last column, is that right? Change in unrealized gain and loss? Is that the right number to look at? But how much is earned every month? What column should we be looking at to say, oh, that's how much it earned this one singular month? Is it the
Is it
ending
change? I
earnings?
would say
Does it sound like
change.
ending earnings? Is that for the year?
Well, if we,
So,
I guess if we have
so
a-
it might be good to get Steve to explain.
Because if you look at beginning earnings, the third column, and you tag it up with ending earnings, we're talking about like the difference of pennies. And if that's the case, then I don't think we're gonna have $15,000 annually to take out of the 100 level account numbers, right?
Right, so, yeah, since we went to this format, we've been taking out of the 100s and 200s.
Yeah, right,
But it looks like it's not going to be, I mean, it looks like we got like maybe 1 or 2 more years before that's
Yeah.
not gonna be sustainable, so
Yep.
we should just figure that out, right? It's not that we're going to be running out of choices to take money from, right? There's, if we
Right.
went to the general funds, there's, almost $200,000 there at 15 a year, that's,
It looks,
13 years there itself.
so if you look at beginning
But-
earnings, the very first one is 1646, end earnings is 1668. Right, that's a difference of, like, what's that, like $14, $18? Yeah.
But I think that's a month.
Yeah,
on that.
this is a month.
That's a month snapshot. So if you looked at the Houghton, it probably is
Well-
at 174.
Well, you can just cheat and look at the subtotals, right? So the subtotal, beginning earnings and ending earnings is $500. So if you annualize that, that's 6,000, right? If that's,
Okay, so those are done on an annual basis, is what you're saying?
if,
Or it's here, it's a monthly basis.
if
Right,
this
here
is a
it's
monthly
monthly,
basis,
right.
then we're saying they
$500 a
basically,
month.
Mhm.
yeah.
It's a lot of money to be sitting and only earning $500 a month.
Well, I don't think I think the earnings is not the same thing as, it's not the same as the beginning and end market value, right? Because I think the earnings are like the dividends and things that's kicking off rather than the changes in the principal.
Okay, all right.
Would you like,
Right, the beginning and the ending principal for the 100s and 200s are the same. Those two columns match.
Yeah.
I guess they match everywhere.
Oh, forget it.
Well, the principal is the amount that the fund was started with.
Correct.
So you want to go at the beginning and ending market value, right?
Right.
Which is, it's just under $4,000 there, I think.
Yeah.
But that's in a case where the market was doing better than in December,
Right.
right? So the December number, I would guess the beginning number is going to be much higher than the ending number,
Right.
but I don't know.
somebody had mentioned a few minutes ago that they'd be interested in having Steve come in and explain some of this.
If you could just explain what the different columns mean
Okay.
and what the differences are, and the monthly report meaning, this is year to date, month to date.
Right, so I'll ask him if he would be able to attend our next meeting.
Or if they just give us all the money that we need for our materials budget instead of having the trustees pay for it.
There's that. I think it's that changed in unrealized gain and loss multiplied, but you can't really because it's all market driven.
The
Yeah.
the unrealized,
I was gonna say you could get a rough
That's-
estimate, but I would kind of not do it by 12.
yeah. The unrealized is more on, I think the ending earnings are things like the dividends it's kicking off, and the unrealized gain is the amount the stocks fluctuate. So.
Anything else?
Nope.
Okay, we're gonna move on to new business. And I suspect that the library building project timeline is going to be a lengthy discussion, so I just want to speak about the electric car charging station and parking first, and then we can address the library building project timeline. I don't know, I think about a week before Christmas, an electric car charging station showed up in the parking lot of the library. And for those who are watching that are not aware, this station is free for Littleton and Boxborough residents. If you register your electric vehicle through the Green Rewards page on lelwd.com. Otherwise, there is a charge to non-residents who pay 12 cents per kilowatt hour. And then there's a 2-hour parking fee that starts 30 minutes after your electric vehicle is fully charged. Now, what I'm curious to know is, does this 2-hour parking fee apply to Littleton and Boxborough residents, even though they may have fully charged their car? Maybe Mark knows that.
Say that again?
So there's a $2 an hour parking fee that starts 30 minutes after your electric vehicle has been fully charged. Is that just to non-residents?
I
Or
assume
does
that
that?
would be to everybody, but
Yeah,
I don't know.
okay.
It wasn't,
How
it
would
didn't
that-
really say.
How would that get charged?
It's the same way so the station is a charge point station, so you have to have the charge point app and a charge point account, and when you register with charge point, you give them your credit card, basically. So charge point is the one that's handling the billing of the station.
Okay, so if you charge your car and it's fully charged, why would you leave it sitting there? Oh, good heavens.
It's a common problem with some electric stations, much more so when California things, where places have started to charge you that your car is fully charged and you haven't moved it, so the next person can't get there. So, so that's the problem.
Okay, but you'd think you would want to get it out of there. I'm sorry, I just don't understand why you would leave that there.
Also, it's a prime location right in front of the
It's
library.
really
It's a
odd
really
to
good
me.
spot.
While people are inside the library
For
reading the
2
paper.
hours? Okay.
An awesome library.
It's an awesome library, but, okay.
So, actually, the question I
Well,
had about it
so-
is, does
so-
it preclude other people from parking there? Right, so I can't park there
It
now
does.
because I don't have
It
an electric car.
does.
Got it.
No,
All right, so
the
that,
sign
you
will
know,
be going up soon.
Okay. That was what I
Electric vehicles only.
assumed, but I wasn't.
Yeah.
Okay.
all right, so that's an explanation of how it works.
Really?
That's an, well, sort of, that's an explanation of how the thing works, but
Yeah.
why is it there,
As
Nobody
opposed
asked
to,
me.
behind the building?
I think.
It's taken 2 of our parking spaces, then there's no delineation, as of the last time I looked, between an electric car and a non-electric car. In other words, it's still a viable parking space for a non-electric car.
Well,
Seems
until they
like-
put the
Yeah.
signs up that say it's a $25 fine.
Yeah, and it's a state
Oh,
law.
the signs are,
Which
oh,
they
is
will.
there signs up?
There will be.
Anything up?
Not yet, they're going to put up a sign.
Okay, well, so why, again, why is it there?
Nobody
Why-
asked me to put it there.
Oh,
or-
I
or
understand
anyone
that.
here.
I'm just looking at you because maybe you could, maybe you had some answers.
They just put it up one day. I really don't.
And they didn't ask
They
anybody.
didn't ask any.
They literally just put it up and you walked out and said, oh, look, there's an electric
Well, they-
charging
they
station.
said it at a
took us-
selectmen meeting,
It
but-
took, it might have been at a selectmen,
Yeah.
it took a few weeks for the thing to go in.
Right.
You could tell there was something going in, but they never asked
Oh,
the
good
library
heavens.
where, but they might have asked the town, actually, I don't think they asked, I don't think Anthony knew anything about it either. So I don't know who decided where it was going.
Well, it's
How
good
easy
to
is-
have it in a highly visible space for people who are using electricity to move their vehicles around. I think it's,
I think it's great, and it's the first station they actually have on that's more generally accessible, right? So, and yes, it might not be the ideal location, that if they came and asked us where we wanted one in the library, it probably wouldn't have been choice number 1, but we have one, and
Okay.
I love it.
it's a really good thing.
I don't think I like it
And the
at
more
all.
people who see that there are electric charging stations right there might think, you know what? I thought it was gonna be really inconvenient to get an electric car. I go to the library twice a week, I can charge up there.
The idea
It's a
is
good thing.
good, but the spot is a really bad spot.
Well,
Disagree.
I don't know how bad it is, because I don't know how many people are using the front versus, if we just had the front entrance, it would be awful, but I think the back entrance is becoming a lot more popular, so it might not be as,
Almost every time you come down here, those spots are all full.
Yeah.
And the reason the sign is going up is because we had to ask them to put it up because patrons with non-electric vehicles were parking there, and people with electric vehicles were coming in to talk to the library staff about, can you ask this person to move their car? I have to park my electric vehicle there. So then, so that's why we had to go, I had to go to Anthony, ask Anthony. Anthony said those are for electric vehicles only, and he asked the town engineer to put up a sign. And he asked the police chief how much the fine would be, and the police chief said it would be $25.
Okay.
Can you, I
Why not just electric shock them?
Yeah.
That would teach them. Sorry.
Can you just maintain communication with the police to know when these fines are gonna take in effect? Because I personally, being a patron, if I, for some reason, park there one day and I suddenly get fined and I say, well, why is this happening? I mean, is there gonna be a sign that goes up?
Yeah, there's gonna be a sign that goes up.
Okay,
It just
but
hasn't gone
they
up
just
yet.
don't, and they haven't told you when that's going to occur? Okay. So they will not be fining people before the sign is up, correct?
I would assume not.
all of the other charging stations in town have signs that say electric vehicle parking only.
Except for this one.
except for this one, and it's
Okay.
new, so.
Okay.
I don't know if it says anything about finding it, the other ones or not. Do you know if the one in Toyota says anything about finding
I've
it?
never read the sign. I honestly haven't. I don't have an electric car.
Okay.
I promise you I'll look tomorrow.
Library building project timeline. I'm gonna let Mark head this one.
Okay, so at our last meeting, we talked a little bit about whether we wanted to go for May or October. I talked to some people on different boards, and today I met with Bonnie and Steve to discuss the funding for the library project in general. Their recommendation, the recommendation from Bonnie is to go to the May town meeting and ask for the design funds for the new library. Basically, ask for enough money to go to a construction bid phase, which,
We have
there's
these
the
sheets.
sheet that is the cost estimate, thank you. I couldn't remember the right word, which I think is numbers 9 through 26 on the cost estimate, which is $1.3, $1.4 million. So we would ask for this number in May, with the expectation that we're going to go back most likely in October, assuming the grant comes through in July, we would be going back in October and asking for the remaining balance.
Have the January announcements been made? Could we be in the January round?
It's possible.
And NDLC will let us delay for 6 months
We'll have we have 6 months to go to town meeting, yes.
from when they say the money's ready.
Right.
So if they say next week, it's ready now, we would
Right.
have to go in May for all of it.
We could request an extension, because it would only be a matter of a couple of months. June,
Yeah.
May.
Wouldn't get to October.
And the warrant closes like in April, right?
It probably closes beginning of April, yeah.
Yeah.
So we could request an extension. Whether or not we'll get it is a different story. But
Okay. Sorry to interrupt.
Somebody did just get one though, right?
I'm sorry to interrupt. So you're saying that the recommendation is to ask for the 1.3 and change
yeah.
million in May for
Yes.
construction and design as a
So basically.
starting phase, phase
Right.
1.
So basically, the way almost all the projects in town work is in 2 phases. They ask for the design money up front, and then they go back later in the next meeting and ask for the construction money. So that's what the model we would be following by asking for the 1.3 in May, and then the remainder in a follow-up meeting. Their recommendation is to ask for it at the special town meeting as opposed to the annual town meeting, because then we could start spending the funds right away as opposed to waiting till July 1st.
Oh, right.
Right.
Right, because it's outside of the budget.
Right.
Yeah. Okay.
So that's their recommendation on how to approach this. And they seem to be on board with that concept. After talking to them today, at a $13.1 million bond minus the 5.8 we get from the state, the average tax bill will be a $160 increase through a debt exclusion whenever
For the year.
$160 per year for the cost of the library at the 7 point whatever. That doesn't take into account any money that we get from fundraising, and it doesn't take into account anything from the extra we'd get from the LEED certification, which is a 3 to 4% of some number, we don't know what of which of these numbers it is, right?
So the cost minus the grant, maximum exposure is 160. $160
assuming-
average house.
Assuming that the bill comes in at 13.1.
Right, okay,
Right.
yep.
So if it cost more to build the library than that, our grant doesn't go up,
Right.
my understanding. So one of the goals of doing this in May is to get a firm number for October, so we know exactly how much it's going to cost, because the political climate has changed and causing construction costs to change. So we don't know the 13.1 number, how real that is at this point. So we can get a better idea, we'd have a more accurate idea for October by doing this process now.
Sense.
And I'm meeting with Steve Moore tomorrow morning, who's the chair of PMBC, to start talking to him about this process. So if we're going forward with this, we need to get in front of the selectmen in January. And we should also get in front of PMBC so that they probably need to get started by March, would be my guess, because they will, first, PMBC will vet this 1.3 number to make sure that that's still legitimate in today's market, and come up with whatever that number really is that we need to ask for in May, right? And then PMBC can have the RFQs or RFPs or whatever they have to sent out so that, you know, the day after town meeting, they can start issuing contracts because they'll have the money, right? They can put the thing out to bid, I believe they can put the thing out to bid before they have the money, right? And then they'd cancel it if it failed at town meeting, right? So they can hit the ground running in May, but they need to get started on it probably in March to get the documents out.
When is the next PMBC meeting?
I do not know that yet. I will find that out tomorrow morning.
Okay. Now, I recommend we go to the January 28th Board of Selectmen meeting. It'll give us some time to get set numbers to bring before then.
Can we get on the agenda, though?
Yeah. Rather than was it the 14th? But just so that we have clear numbers to bring them and have some
Our
time to
meeting
put
on the-
together a
isn't it the 14th?
presentation.
Martin Luther King Day?
No, it's the 21st this year.
Oh, okay, it's late,
It's the third Monday.
okay. So the 28th is fine by me. I think the fundraising committee should also do a presentation at that meeting to say where they are in the fundraising. Because originally we said we thought we could raise $1 million, and we have like 600,000, so I think we have a good chance of hitting the $1 million. I think as the project becomes realer, I think it'll be easier to go after some more money. Also, like the fundraising hasn't approached any businesses outside of supporting things like mini golf and things like that. So I think they'll have a better,
So, wait.
So I'll send an email to get us on the agenda for the 28th. And you will, Mark, you will find out
I will talk, I'll follow up with PMBC,
Okay.
Dave. I think we are members of PMBC for this.
Yeah, we are.
So once this starts happening, we're gonna have to work out going to the meeting. So just so people are aware on this board, the way I believe it will work is PMBC will be driving a large portion of this project going forward once with this happens, right? We're not going to be spending any of the money. PMBC will spending the money. They will be hiring the architect and the OPM with our input. And Dave and I will be voting members of PMBC. I think both of us are voting members of PMBC for this project.
Right.
So we will be attending the meetings and voting representing the library and voting on these things. PMBC is not going to tell you, you know, how big the rooms necessarily should be or where they should be, but they'll make sure that, you know, they follow whatever recommendations the library makes, right? They just don't know it's coming yet, unless they're watching.
I'm sure they're all riveted. Edge of their seats at home.
So. And there's no updates from the space needs, so I can't comment on anything that's going on with the rest of the building. I believe there may be a meeting this coming Wednesday. I will attempt to make it. I'm not sure I'll be on time, but I will try to be there.
There is a a combined meeting tomorrow at the police station of Council on Aging, Friends of the Council on Aging,
That's it.
various town officials, possibly selectmen, and PMBC, no, not PMBC, Park and Rec, I think.
They're not on the.
On a Friday
I
night?
think, no, during the day.
So there's a meeting
Oh.
posted that says it's between the Council on Aging and Friends of the Council on Aging. It doesn't have anyone else listed.
Well, then I won't say anything more then. There's a meeting tomorrow that I'll be attending with a whole bunch of people at it.
Okay.
What time?
It's at 12:30. It's a police station. And it's an open meeting. It's not closed. Public meeting, actually.
So that's the update I have on the building project timeline. So if we're going in May, then the trustees need to get organized on getting people out to vote for the May section of the meeting. May will be a simple vote. I don't know if it's a 50% or 2/3. It's not an override in May. The override would come for the construction cost in October.
Yeah.
And being at special town meeting, it will be earlier in the timeline of the night's festivities.
You're saying in the fall for the big vote?
Fall will be the
If it
big,
falls into this pattern that
if it
we're.
falls into this pattern, it will be a vote of the 1.3 million early in the evening in May, and then a bigger vote in October for the remainder. That's what I got.
I'm fine with that timeline, especially if the town treasurer and assistant town manager are saying that this is a good way to go about doing this. It's in keeping with how the town has
It also-
funded big
yeah,
projects.
It also makes more sense because what we have right now for this 13.1 number is based on, the schematic designs. And we've already said, all of that is subject to change, right? We can move the rooms around and, things like that. So between May and October, we'll be, grounding those much more. And then you'll get much firmer number on what it would be, right? So and then their position was, you want to ask for the right number once, right? So
Right.
this helps you get the right number. So it does make sense.
Yeah. Yeah, good, all right.
I looked really quickly, and the PMBC meeting was just a few days ago for this month,
So
and I can't see one for next month, but
I'm meeting with the chair tomorrow, so I'll figure it out and I'll get on their agenda.
The infographic that Katrina's working on, that's an educational tool which will be available on the website or on LCTV, or it's to present to boards, or what, do you know how it's gonna be
It's basically
utilized?
just, it's graphics that will be used on advertising. So the website,
Okay.
maybe banners, flyers.
Okay, all right. I wonder if it would make sense to have that cache of information put onto a PowerPoint and have the fundraising folks, encourage them to, let's say, go to the Board of Selectmen meeting in February and share what they've learned and share that with the town more broadly. I mean, as much as I'd like to think that people are digging for this information, it probably is more readily accessible for many people who either attend the BOS meetings or watch them from home. So I don't know if the fundraising group would be warm to, sharing their efforts, sharing their successes. And depending on the timing, you might even be able to get some more folks to get excited about the mini golf event, which is happening in March. I mean, the timing of it could be such that, if we keep reminding people that this is an important piece and this is, we're not asking for the whole thing, we're just asking for the design money, it might be good to keep reminding people. All these efforts of, nearly a decade are now
Right.
coming to
fruition.
fruition.
So at the fundraising meeting on Monday, there should be a plan on how to get in front of the Board of Selectmen between who's the trustees and the fundraising together separately and when,
Yeah,
right? And to stay in front of them,
right, yeah, yeah.
so.
Beyond the January 28th meeting, you're saying?
So well, in January, let's say in January, no later than January 28th, we go forward with saying we're going to ask for, well, they're going to know on Saturday that we're going to ask for the 1.3 in May, and then the rest in, potentially in October. It's already on our plan, we're just splitting it up. But we're going to a formal meeting to tell them that that's what our plan is, outside of Super Saturday.
As a board vote that that's our plan?
I don't know, but,
Go ahead.
sure. Let's say we're going.
Just curious.
But then the fundraising committee can either go to the same meeting or go to another meeting, right? And I think that's what you're saying. And
Yeah,
then-
I think go to
and then
a different
maybe-
meeting.
And then maybe
Yeah,
we're going to
maybe
another meeting
February
in
8th.
March or April, reminding people what we're doing.
Yep.
right? So.
So would you recommend on the 28th, when we go before the selectmen, to let them know what we intend on doing for May and October? Should we have a PowerPoint presentation at that time, or should that strictly be given by the fundraising committee?
So I think there's potentially two PowerPoints you're talking.
Okay.
So when the trustees go in front of the selectmen, we're basically saying, this is our new library project plan. And then the fundraising committee can go with their infographics and what they've done to date and things like that, right? And I think I agree with you, Jenna, that it makes sense to separate them out.
So nice when we agree.
Yeah. So that we're in front of, so
He thinks
you're in
he
more
agrees.
meetings.
He's not committing though.
So get them in
That might be
February.
a good
So,
idea.
so when we go, we'll give a very brief update saying, this is how much money we fundraised, or the fundraising committee is, and then they will come and talk more about what they've done
Okay.
and how, and,
And that's closer to the March event, too.
Right.
yeah.
Because
so.
yes, we had also discussed last month about starting to hold info sessions as the vote gets closer, and we discussed that our first one would be sometime in the month of March, which we haven't set a date for yet, but these infographics would be very useful for those info sessions, as well as anything else that we plan to put together between now and then, and any particular speakers that we want to invite.
So, starting in March, we probably need to do the presentations that we were doing before with the schematics, and get people's feedback and tell them more of the project timeline, and say, if you want the basketball court in the library, now's the time to ask, type things, right? And, you want, this moved or that moved.
Polo. You are doing pool tables, right?
Yeah,
Okay.
And a swimming
yeah,
So
so,
I have moved
and a
there.
betting pool.
so, and the other thing we need to figure out is, where, we have the changes from MBLC they recommended in it to the schematics. We need to figure out basically when we need our ducks in a row on what we really want the building to look like a little more. Do we need those like in May or July, right? So that they can start working more on the next round of schematics and more,
Well, we would have to hire the new architect first, OPM.
well, before they can draw it up, but we can start saying, what about moving this room here, or, turning it, or, that type of
So
stuff.
we'd have to hire a new architect?
Well, we have to put out an RFQ for an architect, and Johnson Roberts can apply, or we can hire someone else if we want.
So it's not us doing that hiring either, that's
Well, no,
PVC.
I understand that, but so even though Johnson Roberts designed our building,
They can be somebody else. We also have to get a new
And
OPM.
there's no proprietary ownership of the schematics by the architectural firm. We own it, and we can give it to the next person and say, we like some things, we don't like others, and that person can,
Right.
it's like a Lego house, they can snap off a wing and put something different there. That's true.
So
That's what architecture is,
so-
snapping off Lego
So
houses.
we're effectively starting the process again, right? Just the difference is we have, a little more information now than we had the last time we started the process, right? We're going through another round of schematics, right? They're just going to be a much quicker round of producing the schematics because we already have them, right? Then, once the schematics are more nailed down, they can do a more refined architectural blueprints and say, you know, the outlets go here type things, right? And so,
The major pieces are figured out, where it's gonna be, how big it's gonna be.
right,
You know, there are only so many materials that anyone can use to actualize those two things, right?
yeah,
So it is a matter of maybe changing things and moving stuff around, or,
yeah.
and getting a lot of feedback from people to say, you know what, that design that you came up with,
Right, so we have
Looks like
feedback
it.
from MVOC, we have some public feedback, we should be asking for more. We just need to figure out what the timeline is for asking for more versus, you know, October, right? Working back from October, when we need to know all of this stuff, right? And I don't have any idea what the answers to that are, but PMBC can help, and so.
Yeah, good.
So Jenna, do you think we need to vote
I
for
don't
this or
know,
not?
just, you came in as if it was a foregone conclusion.
If you
I
want.
feel silly having said, oh, I think that's a good idea, Mark, because it was already foregone. I would have reserved the compliment.
I honestly don't know if we have to vote this or not, or if it's just a general plan of
No, it's not really
attack,
policy,
so.
right? I don't think we do.
So,
For
I
John,
think we have consensus.
yeah.
What would be the motion if you were gonna make one?
that's what I don't know.
We would just make a motion to forge forward.
I think we would have to make a motion to ask for the 1.3 in May.
We should,
Right.
because we made a motion a few months ago to go in May and ask for all the money.
No, we made a motion to put it on the capital plan.
Right, okay.
All we're doing now is breaking up the capital plan into two
So, yeah,
sections,
I-
so
we
we
should-
can
we
do
should-
that,
We
right?
should just make a motion, just.
So I'll make a motion that we ask for the design funds of one
One
point,
$1,363,399.
yes. We ask for that money from the capital plan for the May special town meeting.
Second that.
Oh,
All those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed?
So next steps are selectmen's meeting on January 28th.
who's
to
putting us on the agenda for that?
I am going to contact Anthony and the board and ask that we be put on the agenda. And
Because that's before.
What's the
our
date on that?
next
The
meeting.
January
Monday
28th.
the 28th.
And are we all gonna try to be there? Because that means it needs to be posted as well.
We should probably post it.
Right, okay.
Mhm.
If we're not all there, then,
That's fine then, all right.
and I will get on the PMBC agenda, and I'll let Dave know when that is, since we're members.
Yeah.
It's odd, there doesn't seem to be another one posted yet.
And
Usually
we-
meet twice a month, so.
We will let the fundraising and public awareness committee know that we will also need them at that January 28th meeting, and then again in February.
No,
Mhm.
we
No?
want them in the February meeting.
Just February?
February.
Okay. I'm glad we're clear on that. So then just the February meeting, so we
So
can start
at your
planning.
fundraising committee meetings, they can talk about going to a February selectmen
Okay.
meeting. And then we'll plan to go back in March. Okay?
Mhm.
Okay.
Do you want to set some dates for info sessions in March? So you mentioned that. Or
I'd rather have more
We-
time to plan
you
it.
want to wait on that? Okay.
We can bring it up next month.
Yes, and we all, yes,
For new business next month?
right. Business
And,
budget sessions.
I'm of the opinion that it makes sense to have a weeknight meeting, have a Saturday
Saturday,
morning
yeah,
meeting,
definitely.
have a
Yeah.
Tuesday
Noontime or
8 o'clock,
something, yeah.
right, like move it around the calendar so that people have availability. Perhaps even have one where the kids all hang out in the Cooper room and play Legos, appropriately enough, and the parents are able to go to a different section, or maybe to the multipurpose room and have an info session, so the kids are busy doing something.
That's a good idea.
We may want to schedule, if we're going to bring in Patrick or someone, we might want to try and bring him in February, so that when we go in March, we know how to do the presentations better.
Good idea.
So we don't have to talk to him, we don't have to do anything now, but we probably should plan on scheduling him sometime in February.
Yeah, mid-February.
We will have him come in on an evening flight. Yes,
Not on a day that's gonna
It's in New
smell.
York.
or at least the day before. The day before, so he's definitely there the day of.
So, someone should be contacting Patrick to set up the date in February, and if we
I
need
can contact him.
and if we need to actually pay
What
for anything, we
date?
know, we'll vote that in
Does it
February.
make better sense? Is it gonna be trustees and staff? I mean, what's?
How about a Tuesday or a Thursday, since the library opens at 1? It will enable staff to come before the opening of the library. I mean, does that work for staff?
That's what we did last year,
Yeah.
right?
That works for the staff.
Yeah.
It just works so much for other people.
All right. Why don't I look into trying to get him here on the 19th, the 21st, the 26th, the 28th?
And can you ask if he would be okay with us videoing his presentation in the event that people cannot make it?
Yep.
But at least they could view it. And then can we get a copy of his slides or presentation
Mhm.
also?
Yep. Okay.
Anything else? Okay. Is there other business?
I have one thing. At our last meeting, someone brought up whether we were reviewing documents and they had people's names in them, whether they could be redacted. They cannot, according to Diane. They're part of the public record as is. That's all I have.
I make a motion to adjourn.
Second?
Wow. Didn't hesitate with that one.
Our next